IQ, let's take a look at this latest set of essays about fathers staying home, mothers working. Okay, here we go. Experts throughout developed and developing countries have debated the reasons behind the parental responsibility shift in many households, specifically when men are taking on the role of a homemaker and caregiver to children, whereas their wives are the breadwinners. The only thing I would change here is the I would get rid of it, interestingly. Um, because when we talk about a role, we say the role of homemaker. Um, I don't have really a specific reason why, but it is one of those weird instances where you don't want the A. Okay. While there are many reasons leading to this trend, I believe this is a positive development that would bring beneficial improvements to society. This essay will elaborate my viewpoint as well as the causes of this change. Okay. Using examples from the UN and LinkedIn to explain points and prove arguments. Okay, great. Lovely. Let's see. There is ample evidence suggesting that the reasons for men to be stay-at-home fathers vary from person to person. However, there are two common reasons. Firstly, many men are putting more weight on building the relationship with their children by taking on the traditional role that is in charge by women. All right, that's the wrong expression. How about by taking on the traditional role that has been assigned to women? Okay, you could have said that. I think that would have been a better word choice. Or you could have done this by taking on the traditional role, um, or no, by taking on the role traditionally held by women. All right, that's another really good way of saying this. They spend more time bonding with their children through giving care as well as education. Secondly, they want to support their partners in pursuing professional goals. Unlike in the past, where women were bound to their homes and children, more and more women now have chosen to further their careers. Therefore, some men have decided to step back and give their partners the opportunity to develop their professions. An empirical study by the UN revealed that more than 70% of men who are full-time caregivers of their children reported that they did so to support their partners professionally. Therefore, it is possible to state beyond doubt that most men stay at home to strengthen family bonds and let their partners develop their careers. Okay. Let's talk about this. I liked it very much. Let's talk about your arguments. You said there were two reasons. You spent quite a bit of time supporting the second one, which was good. So I liked all of it. What I didn't like is that you didn't do anything here, okay? By taking on the traditional role, let's see. Firstly, many men are putting more weight on building their relationship with their children. Okay. So that's the first reason. By taking on the traditional role, they spend more time bonding. All right. No, I guess you did. I guess you developed it. So you said that this is more important to them. And so as a result, they bond more. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. So that was good. That was my concern because it felt like there was a lot about this and there was very little about that, but at least you supported it to some degree, so it's okay. This is just a detail, really, but here you wrote opportunity to develop their professions, and you said to develop their careers. I would have liked a different word other than develop. Okay, it's a detail, but I did kind of pick up on it as I read it. That's all. Yeah, a different word here. So maybe to focus on their careers and let their partners focus on their. So you understand what I mean. Just a different word to show a little variety. But again, this is such a detail, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Even though the causes of this trend are varied, it has underpinned many positive developments in society. Nice. The family bonds in families where fathers stay home have improved significantly. All right, here you could have really neglected the word family. You didn't need it twice in that sentence. So the bonds in family where fathers stay home have improved significantly, and that's fine. The main reason is that in order to take better care of their children, they learn to share their experiences and emotions, which is not easy since men are notorious for being stoic. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Another significant result of this trend is the fact that there are more women in positions of power. When the responsibility of childcare is shared with men, women have more time and energy to live up to their potential and take on higher positions at work. A recent study by LinkedIn suggested that 8 out of 10 women who are in charge of leading positions have their husbands taking care of the children. Hence, it is evident to conclude that this parental shift has paved the way for many important changes in society. All right, this is lovely. The only word I would have changed here was stoic. I love that you used this language. I'm not entirely convinced that it's the right word here. So while I was happy that you knew this word and had a pretty good idea of how to use it, I'm not entirely of the opinion that it was the best word here. Let's see. They learn to share their experiences and emotions, which is not easy since men are notorious. How about rather than being stoic, which could mean something else, you could say men are notorious for being unexpressive, or men are notorious for hiding their emotions. So maybe it's not a one word that kind of catches or encompasses this idea that you're trying to express, but it would have been, for me at least, a little more precise. Another thing that I want you to be careful, look at this, hold on. The main reason is that in order to take better care of their children, how about not they learn, but many men learn to share their experiences and emotions, which is often not easy since men are notorious for being unexpressive with their emotions. So, what did I do? I made it feel less absolute. So, by saying that they can do this, they often do this, I'm not saying that this applies to every single man in this position. So I'm allowing this leeway for another option. And this is something you want to try to do. You never want to be really absolute with your arguments. Okay? So that for me would have been a good thing to do here. And then, but honestly, it's a beautifully written paragraph. It's a great essay in general. In conclusion, from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that the parental shift in responsibility between fathers and mothers, get rid of that, you don't need it, has opened the doors to various positive societal changes, even though most of the reasons center around building stronger family ties and supporting mothers in pursuing their career. Okay, I like this. I'm not sure why you wrote even though here. I don't really see contrast. You said positive societal changes. Which center around building stronger ties or has opened the doors to various positive societal changes, the reasons for which center around, etc., etc. You could have done that. So like I said, the even though isn't a big mistake, but I didn't really see contrast here anywhere, so I didn't really feel it was totally appropriate. But again, it's a really great essay. I liked so much of it. I thought it was very strong. I thought it would definitely be high scoring. So what I'm essentially suggesting to you is some details to really just take it up to the next level. Okay, so let's see. Is it okay to state just a reason? Because, this is something that a lot of IELTS examiners discuss. You've got some purists who will say, well, if it says reasons, you have to write reasons. And it's not entirely true. The examiners, honestly, they don't care. They just want something that is well supported, well explained, and well developed. Okay. And so if you can do that with one reason and really just explain it well, then definitely just do one. Unfortunately, a lot of IELTS candidates don't do that. So they write just for one reason. They have a little bit of support for it, and they don't really flush it out. They don't really develop it as fully as they can. So in this instance, it's definitely in your favor to talk about two reasons. And you did that here, and it created a really lovely paragraph, right? So in other words, if you had stuck to just this as your reason, it would not have been enough. And you'll remember that I went back to it and I looked at it and I was like, I'm not really sure that there was enough here, because in contrast, look how much you had for that second reason. Um, so that's one thing. However, this is a discussion that I know I've had with other examiners, like how important is it to be reasons and reason, one or two. And like I said, the general consensus is that if it's one that's just really fully developed, it's enough. This whole thing with the plural versus the singular, it comes into play more in general task one. In the writing assignment, in the letter, but it's not such a huge deal in task two. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Will it be okay if I have body one shorter than body two? Okay, geez, 50 minutes, really? Yikes. Okay. Um, Here's the thing. You don't want to be obsessive about one being longer, one being shorter. I mean, however, you do want them to be roughly similar in size, because if you look at the band descriptors for band 7, under task achievement, it says something, I can't remember the language exactly, but it says develops all part of the task equally, or it says something like that. So you maybe it doesn't say equally, it says something else, but the general idea is that you don't want to have a small paragraph for one part of the essay and then this gigantic paragraph for another. You want to show that you have developed all parts of the task, okay, and that you have spent a good amount of time developing both. Okay, so if it's like a couple of lines different in terms of length, then I think you're okay. But when you get into this situation where it's like, geez, one paragraph is like 5 lines long and the other one is 9, then you've got a problem. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's definitely work on cutting down your time, because that was a really great essay, but you need to do definitely some work on getting it smaller, getting down to time. Let's take a look at this task 1, which really a lot of people struggle with. Let's see what you did. The line chart, well, we usually call it a line graph, by the way, because it's bar chart, pie chart, and then this is a line graph. So the line graph reflects the differences in the monthly rainfall in 3 regions of the UK, including, okay, now it's not really including, because that implies that there were other ones as well. Okay. So you could have just said specifically, okay, instead of including. Overall, Scotland and Wales shared some similarities in the fluctuations of rainfall during the summer and fall, whereas this figure of England remained stable during the time span. Okay. I don't really totally understand this. You're talking about summer and fall, that they had similarity, and this figure, not of England. That also felt a little strange to me. Maybe just, and in England, this figure remained stable during the time span. Let's see. Is that really what happened in summer and fall? So they had similar fluctuations. Scotland and Wales. In England, is that purple? Honestly, it looks to me like England and Scotland had similarities. Look, between like June to October, they had more similarities than Wales did. Wales had this weird thing here. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really clear about your overview. Let's see. Had some similarities. Yeah. Honestly, I can't really say that this is the best overview you could have had. I think there were other trends that are a little more obvious. Let me show you what I mean. So one thing that I would say here is that all three countries experienced fluctuation throughout the entire year. However, on average, England had the highest rainfall. On average is the key here because, yes, it had a lot of fluctuation, but it was all in those higher ranges. So it never went below, what is that, like 75? It never went below that, whereas the other two countries did. So on average, its rainfall is higher. Okay, so that for me is probably the best overview here. I got to be honest with you, yours confused me a little bit because first of all, I'm not really sure about the accuracy, and I felt like you focus on a very small part of the graph. All right, let's keep going. While Scotland had the highest rainfall during March and October, more than 125, this figure of Wales, again of Wales, it's weird. This figure, no, how about this? In Wales, this figure reached its peak at 125 during July. February was the month when Scotland had the least rain, accounting for less than 25, 5 times smaller than its figures in March and in October. Wales hit the same amount, 25, 2 months later in April, making it the driest month in this area. Don't forget your period here. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Let me just keep reading through, and then we'll talk about your organization here. England was the only place with the lowest fluctuation, okay, during 2018. I don't know why you have a comma here. I would have put a period or a semicolon. The amount of rainfall recorded in this region fluctuated around 100 ml. The month with the lowest rain was June at 75. July and September had the, I don't know why you have a comma here. You shouldn't have. You should have had a period. July and September had the same amount of rainfall recorded at 125, similar to the figures of Scotland and Wales during their wettest months, not its. Oh, is that it? Okay. All right. So let's talk about how many data points you talked about here. There were 36 in this task one, which I know is a lot. And obviously you're not going to talk about them, and you shouldn't talk about all of them. But I do want to do a little count here for how many data points you actually talked about. So you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let's see, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So there were a couple of things that I was thinking about as I was reading this. I felt like I didn't really love the organization because here's what I want you to think about when you're doing a task one. I want you to think that you're describing this in such a way that someone is reading it and can roughly visualize what it is you are looking at without actually having to refer to the graph. Okay, that is the ultimate goal of task one. If you can describe it, giving all those main important things without giving too much or too little detail, can the person reading your response more or less map it out? All right, so that's the goal here. And to be honest with you, I wasn't able to do it, partially because of this paragraph, the way it started, the way it kind of flip-flopped between Scotland and Wales. It became very difficult for me to do this. So let me give you some suggestions on what I think works here in this particular chart. First of all, let's talk about the data points that are important. You did include some of them, but I felt like you left out some. This is a chronological chart where it tells you a story about rain, okay? And that story of rain begins in the beginning of the year and it ends at the end of the year. When we tell a story and when we hear a story, what are the points we want? We want the beginning of the story, we want the end of the story, and then we want those main parts in the middle. So because this is chronological the way it is, I think I would have liked it organized in that way. I think it would have made for a clearer task one. So let me tell you what I mean. I would have started with Scotland. Why? Because it has the highest point in the beginning of the year. And I would have said that. So I would have said Scotland started the year with the highest rainfall of the three countries at roughly 130 ml. And then I would have talked about its lowest point. All right. However, the following month, it reached the lowest point of the year at whatever. Okay. The next month, it went to the first of two peaks. So 135, whatever that is, 140. Okay. And experienced considerable fluctuation until it reached the second peak in October. The year ended with rainfall just over 100 ml, which was slightly below where it began. And then I would do something similar with the other two. So England is really simple. England had the steadiest rainfall of the three. It started at around 110 ml. I don't know if that's true. 110, I guess so. Okay. And never went below 75 ml in June. Okay. It had three peaks. It had three peaks of, what is that number? It's about 135. It had three peaks of 135 or 125, whatever, in July, September, and also in December when it ended the year. Done. So what have I talked about? I talked about the beginning, the low, the peak, and then the end. Okay, so that's how I would have done this. Maybe it comes, I actually haven't written this out like this. Maybe it comes out to something really enormous, but so maybe written, I would, edit some things out or what have you. But those are the points that I think are important here. Now with Wales, you've got, again, beginning, this guy here, this peak here, and then you've got this plateau, which is really interesting because it's the only plateau we have anywhere. It's the only stability we have. So you have to mention it. And then the end. That's it. All right. So that's how I would do this. Keep at it. Let me know if you have any questions about this. And I'm looking forward to seeing your next set of essays. Good luck.